Peace. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Jake J Everyday, also known as Furious Styles. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start a it's still gonna be the same kind of I'm gonna put a post on the channel, but what I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna give you a different perspective with the series I'm gonna start. This is going to be the first post in the series I call a framework. And let me describe to you what the framework is. I got the idea from it. It's kind of like the Matrix, but I didn't want to call it the Matrix because that shit is just so used and played out, and people say, "Oh, unplug from the Matrix," because that's popular. It's part of the lexicon. It's part of the discussion, and it's used so much now that it doesn't really have any gravity or substance to it when you hear somebody talk about the Matrix, the red pill and blue pill and all that kind of shit. So let me explain to you what the framework is. I got the idea from this TV show. You may not have seen it. It's called The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And during this one season of The Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., the scientists created something called LMDs. LMDs is what's normally is a acronym for life model decoys. What happened with the scientist when he created these life model decoys, the smartest and the most aware of these life model decoys created this computer simulation called the framework. And what was different about the framework than anything else was you still had your consciousness, but you were plugged into this framework. And basically what the framework did was it allowed you to live your regular life, but you were a different version of who you were within the framework. And some people were the same person within the framework, but it was like a mirror reality. So how I juxtapose that is I'm going to talk about society, our country, where you live at, as the framework. This framework that we're currently in, you're plugged into it by television, by radio, by movies, by music, by your computer, your phone, social media. All of these things make up this thing called the framework, because now you're getting all of your information is from one source, and that's basically the framework. The framework tries to create this idea that there's a distinction. Like, oh, there's black and white, there's Republican and liberal, gay and straight. Because the reason why the acronym, why the framework creates these divisions or whatever, is because these things are truly out here in the framework, but by tailoring them and changing certain dynamics within the framework, you're able to manipulate people's thoughts, their reasoning, just everything they do based on these people being plugged in to the framework. What the hell? So the first topic I'm going to discuss within the framework is something that's super simple, but you're going to see it repeated over and over again. And what I'm going to discuss in the framework is music, or the music industry, and one thing in particular within the music industry, and that's Miss Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. And those people will say, oh, why are you talking about them, and they're fake and they don't mean anything, and why are you talking about these silicone Sallies like they matter, or whatever the case may be. But here, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. The framework is giving you recycled versions of the same thing. So let's start with Miss Nicki Minaj. Okay. Nicki Minaj was a girl from Queens who went to a performing arts school, who always wanted to get into rap music. Based on her earlier music and her influences, she looked up to and modeled herself after Lil' Kim. From poses, the colored wigs, the raunchy sex talk, the drug and gun raps. She was basically a clone of Nicki Minaj, but Nicki Minaj was basically a clone of Lil' Kim. The difference between the two was that Nicki Minaj wasn't put on, she wasn't discovered by a rapper. Nicki Minaj had been grinding and been, going from Atlanta to New York, and a lot of her raps was written by her boyfriend at the time, this guy named Safari. I'll talk about him later. However, she was discovered and found by this clique of rappers commonly referred to as Cash Money. Okay, I had to pause it for a minute. Let me get back to it. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so Nicki Minaj, young rapper, was in Atlanta. She was under the Gucci Mane camp, and she decided to sign with Young Money. She was a hot free agent, so she decided to sign with Young Money. Her first single came out. It did okay, but it didn't really pop. But what she did do is she had a lot of guest features, and her wave came. And I'm going to do a video post about waves, but and defining what a wave is within the framework too, but I'm going to do that later. But getting back to Nicki Minaj. So Nicki Minaj basically became a star. She did Pink Friday. What else she did? I think she did Roman's Revenge, then Roman's Revenge Reloaded, and the Pink Print. She put out 4 albums. As with a lot of people that become stars, she became a bit arrogant. She left her original boyfriend, started, dating another rapper, then another rapper, and basically she blew up to become a big star. But what happened is she became uncontrollable within the framework. See, they were able to talk her into, yeah, get your breasts done, yeah, get the silicone injected in your behind, and we're going to make you a sex symbol. But I think what Nicki Minaj realized is, I'm getting older, number one, and number two, I want to be known for my musical skill, not for being a sex kitten. So as she became more famous, got richer, and her attitude grew worse, she also became more uncontrollable. Then she started getting in spats with the framework's other dimension, which was pop stars. And the framework definitely didn't like that. So what the framework realized was, okay, especially in this era of woman empowerment, we need to have someone else not only that we can control, that we can mold, and that we're able to push a certain narrative out about women of color. Lo and behold, someone finds this young girl, that's Dominican, which is a black person who speaks Spanish, but that's neither here nor there. So she starts making music, she gets on reality shows, and what's discovered is, okay, we have somebody that follows directions. If we tell her to do something, she's going to do it. And the most important thing is, she's not arrogant, she can be controlled, but she has a personality that people like. She has a so-called realness that people like. And what the framework tricked everybody into believing is not that she had a realness, she didn't have a filter. And she wasn't guarded once she became famous, so she told all of her business. And what basically happened was the framework embraced her, and the framework also recognized, hey, we can do these things that we weren't able to do with Nicki Minaj, because Nicki Minaj is uncontrollable. So the rollout was meticulously planned. They had people put in place, and they had a better delivery system than what they had for Nicki Minaj, this being the framework. Because what the framework realized was, okay, you have these rappers and you have these people who, once they get on and they get their hands in there, we're never gonna be able to get control. We gotta split this money with them. We have to deal with a lot of bullshit in order to get this money and maintain this level of control. And let me just tell you what I mean by that. What I mean by that is the days of a Master P, Suge Knight, Puffy, Dame Dash, Irv Gotti, let me think of somebody else, Jay Prince. The framework is never going to allow something like that to happen ever again, because they realize, okay, not only do we have to split the money with these people, we got to deal with a certain amount of bullshit once they become stars. So what they realized is, instead of making CEOs, we'll do co-branding ventures, we'll do 360 deals, we'll do all of these things so that there's no one person that controls everything. The only person that controls everything is the framework. And subsequently what happened was Cardi B came out with a decent song. A song called Bodak Yellow. While I don't necessarily like the song, it resonated and hit lower frequency minds based on the frequency the song was broadcasting at. And if you think that I'm lying, just look at the music that's being broadcast now. It's of a lower frequency, it's of a lower intelligence. There's no provocative thought with any of the music now. What the framework discovered is, okay, everybody likes Cardi B. Everybody is pulling for her to win because they see her as somebody that came from nothing and made something of herself. And she never hid who she was. She never hid her plastic surgery. She embraced her flaws and all. And what the framework realized is, okay, we can push this way further than we can push Nicki Minaj, because Nicki Minaj is guarded, Nicki Minaj is famous, she's rich, and it's hard to control somebody or tell them what to do when they can be like, no, I'm not doing that. Then she just so happens to start dating one of the most popular rappers, one of the rappers from one of the most popular groups that's out right now, a group called Amigos, who again broadcast on a low frequency level. Their music don't really talk about anything, but people tend to like the Migos, young people rather. And basically what happened to Nicki Minaj as a result is she's been replaced by the framework. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that Nicki Minaj isn't talented and that Nicki Minaj just got where she got to because somebody decided to put her there. And yes, she has talent. Yes, she does have skill to rap or whatever. But see, what Nicki Minaj failed to realize is your run is over. You have somebody now that you can be replaced with, and nobody is going to miss you or lose any sleep over it. I think Nicki Minaj can't realize this and they tried to do a song together, but just like most things with women, it's hard to get two women who are fighting for the same space, the same position, to collaborate and do music together. Because see, if you ever notice, a lot of women don't really do music together. When you've seen this in the past, it's because these women were really cool and everybody occupied a different space. So you could see something like Ladies Night starring Missy, Little Kim, Da Brat, Angie Martinez, and Left Eye from TLC, because everybody was in a different space. Nobody was crowding anybody's space. But see, now the music game has gotten tighter within the framework, so there isn't that much space for a bunch of Silicone Sallies to be in that position. And how you know I'm right is because the best album by a female, by a woman named Rhapsody, her grind has been slow. She wasn't co-signed by a man, and she has one of the top 5 best producers, a guy named Ninth Wonder, who produced her whole album. And her album was so good that they had to give her recognition based on her skill. And see, what most people don't really realize is the programmers within the framework are very smart. They don't have to fight everything. You let a little bit of, it's like, here, yeah, it's like going to McDonald's. Yeah, I can sell you these greasy ass burgers, these greasy ass fries, and these cans of citric acid, but here I'll sell a salad too. I'm not going to bar entry to Rhapsody coming into this framework. I'm just not going to have a radio player of music. You see? So, with all that being said, the main point of this whole discussion about the framework and what the programmers do within the framework is they're trying to basically mindfuck you. They're giving you the same product with a different taste. I understand you like Coke, but here, try Cherry Coke. It's the same thing. We just put some bullshit in it to make it taste a little different, but it's still fucking Coke. And as you watch, you'll see they'll do it with sports, they will do it with your movie stars, they'll do it with your TV shows and your movies. And hell, now in the framework, they're so blatant with it, they'll just put back on the same TV show and they'll just start telling the same jokes again. This is why the content that you watch, excuse me, content that you watch And what you choose to wrap your mind around is so important. Because what the framework is trying to do is program you to believe a certain way. And trying to tell you how to think. They're trying to make you believe that, yeah, this is something brand new or something you haven't seen before. That's what the textbook definition of a mindfuck is. Let me give you the same thing. Let me keep suggesting something to you until, yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I believe Beyonce is better than Michael Jackson. I believe Michael Jackson is better than James Brown. I believe. The framework and the creation and the perfection of the mindfuck is a non-stop process. It's going to continue and continue. So, that being said, this is your boy Jay Everyday. I'm signing off. However, beware of the framework. Watch out for the mindfuck, because it's an assault on your senses and it's an assault on critical thinking. I'm out. Peace.